Good morning and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by Get Go Cafe and Market. We're right now, Dayon.
Fish sandwiches.
All about the fish sandwiches and the seasonings you put on them. They're really good. Go and check them out right now. How you doing, buddy?
You know, I'm all right until you told me that you were going to talk about the Cleveland Browns for this segment.
Yes. Surprise, everyone. We're talking about the Cleveland
You're
Browns.
not one of these people, are you?
One of what people?
One of these people.
What do we mean? What do you mean, those
take the
people?
Browns seriously.
Oh, okay,
That's what I'm talking about.
listen. Okay, so what we're talking about is everyone, including Vegas now, is talking about the Browns are now the AFC North favorites. Some even said Super Bowl favorites. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Who's their coach?
I forget his name.
You don't even know his name.
At the top of my head, I couldn't
You, of all
pull it
people,
out.
don't know the guy's name. When the Browns did what they did in the second half of 2018, there isn't a person alive, not the most diehard, dog-pound, chief bow wow, whatever,
Chief Bow Wow.
who would say that it had anything to do with other than obviously Baker Mayfield, but then who would have been right below in that structure? Greg Williams.
Yeah, Greg Williams.
What'd they do with Greg Williams?
Ah, man.
What'd they do with him? He's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, why do you do that? You know why you do that? Because you're the Cleveland bleeping Browns.
And here's the thing.
That's why you do it.
Everyone's really excited, and this is why it's exactly moves like Greg Williams.
He had them like rabid. You and I talked
They were
about
aggressive.
this when we were breaking down film later in the season. Those blitzes, they were coming at people.
Left and right.
That's a Greg Williams defense. They told him to go away.
Yeah.
That his services were no longer needed.
And see, here's the thing. The Browns, I mean, these are interesting signings. That's why I will give them credit for. Because Odell Beckham Jr. with Jarvis Landry and David Njoku and Nick Chubb.
And no offensive line.
That's the issue, is that you still got no offensive line. But we've seen this before. How many teams have one free agency and then just disappeared?
Yeah.
It happens all the time
All the
in the
time.
NFL. It is why I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we come week 9 or 10, the Browns are struggling, or even if they're doing well and they start to struggle, that you start to see some implosions, bad
Show me
signs.
a team that has uncertainty on the offensive line, let alone what they had. In the aftermath of Joe Thomas. By the way, did you see the picture of Joe Thomas?
God, did you see the picture of Joe
Like
Thomas?
I thought, like when Alan Faneca
You're
like
right, Alan
shrunk in
Faneca
half,
looked
right?
amazing,
Like
but
Joe
this guy's
Thomas is like Alan Faneca's leg. All right, so enough about Joe Thomas. But Joe Thomas is gone from the offensive line. They didn't replace him with anything.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden it's, hey, look, everybody, we're loaded at the skill positions. Super Bowl, here we come. Did I miss the part where the offensive line is only the most important thing?
Yeah, they're still going to need to protect Baker Mayfield. And it's especially important because when the Steelers were beating up on Baker Mayfield, Dale Lally was talking to both Cam and Stephon Tuitt.
Right.
And they said all we had to do was just get in his way, and he couldn't see over our bodies.
I'm here to tell you, without throwing any of the defensive linemen under the bus by naming them, but I can tell you that they did not take Cleveland's offensive line even this much seriously, okay, at any point in that season, including later on, okay? That's not going to snap its fingers and just make itself fine when they get to Berea at training camp and go, hey, everybody, skill positions, Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. I got to admit, I like seeing Francisco Liriano here. This is a guy who, he was part of the Pirates' playoff surge. He was a part of the leadership group. There was a lot of respect for him in that room. I know nobody wants to hear the leadership stuff. I get that. Okay, he's got to get people out. But man, if he's not 40, he's 35. He tells me he can still throw that slider. Why shouldn't he be able to get guys out, lefties and righties, out of the pen?
I think you should, as long as you get the slider moving and you're able to locate it. And that's just the big thing with something like the slider like he has, just the break that he's able to get into it.
It's a trademark pitch. It's a signature pitch across baseball is the Liriano slider. All he's ever had to do, of course, is harness it, and then I shouldn't say that because the main thing that would get Frankie in trouble is when he wouldn't locate the fastball and then he couldn't keep them honest off the slider.
So are you saying that Francisco Liriano would technically be a better option than a fastball pitcher against a team with a low average but a high home run rate, like maybe the Cubs two or three seasons ago?
I guess. I mean, here's the thing with Frankie is that like I was just saying, he gets in trouble with the fastball command. However, if he does in fact end up in the pen, and remember, that's not 100% sure. If he does in fact, actually, it's not even 100% sure he'll make the team.
Right.
But if he's in the pen and if he goes to a fastball slider combo, which is all you need in relief.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen the success of that from the other guy who has the fastball slider combo in the pen, Nightmare, of course. So, I mean, if he's able to do it with a different set of skills.
That thing's not even a slider. We still have to come up with a name for that thing.
Yeah, maybe they should just call it Nightmare, huh?
Yeah. The Pirates seem intent on having Eric Gonzalez be their shortstop. And then you bring Kevin Newman into the equation, and they always do when you bring up shortstop. And the first thought that I have is, man, that kid had, like everybody else thinks, a rough few weeks in the major leagues. And then you wonder, is it going to mess with his head?
Yeah, I've actually seen this guy from his very first professional start, which was down in Morgantown as a black bear. And
Really?
Yeah, 100%. It was such an interesting experience because he was this different body. He was so much slighter than he is now coming from Arizona.
Yeah, he was a rail when he was,
Yeah, he was just so thin. And, running into him down here while the pitchers and catchers are reporting and seeing him in the cages and whatnot, he's filled out nicely. And not just that, he's got, people joke a lot of times about Kevin Newman not being the most talkative guy in the room.
Right.
The first thing that the guy says to me down here at spring training is, whoa, hold up with the photo. And he's running his hand through his hair.
He had to fix his hair for you.
He had to fix his hair, and then he asked, how am I now? And,
That's great.
It's a whole different attitude and look from Newman for me. It's just, it goes back to that confidence, Some of these players, they need to grow into that a little
Well,
bit.
if anything, even if he has to force it, I think through this camp, through the Grapefruit League games, look, he probably understands that he's not going to be the starting shortstop, but he also understands that he needs to show Clint Hurdle and the coaching staff. These guys watch little things. You know how they are in baseball more than any other sport, behavioral things.
Sure.
How does he go about his business? How does he carry himself? He has to show that he's still coming with his confidence intact from how he performed in Indianapolis, where he was very good.
Yeah, and I think his relationship maybe not with Jordy Mercer, who people thought, Jordy might teach this guy some things, but his relationship with Cole Tucker, who's another promising middle infielder for the Pirates.
First round pick also.
He's a guy who carries himself differently. He's always had that bit of swagger with him. He stands high. He's got the curly hair and the big smile.
He's a big kid. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But the two of them are always around each other,
That's good.
whether it's here or wherever in the clubhouse when they're in the minor leagues together. So I mean, I think just some of those relationships that he's formed since joining the Pirates have maybe helped him blossom a little bit.
He's also got to hit a lot more.